Okay, so today we're going to look at perspective sketching. So there's a few different types of perspective. Before we get into that though, just make sure that you've got some of the equipment that you're going to need. So a couple of pencils, probably useful, rubber, ruler, sharpener, and potentially a fine liner or something to sketch the outlines. Perspective. We spoke about isometric before, very, very basic in terms of the actual shape and how you construct your product or your sketches, I suppose. The perspective is slightly different. There is always going to be some form of vanishing point in perspective. And we get four different types of perspective that are quite common. So we get 1 point, we get 2 points, we get 3 points, and we get fisheye. And I'm going to show you how those look in the next few minutes. So there's going to be a horizon line for all of these, and the horizon line is exactly as it says. It is the horizon that you're looking at. So if you think about the horizon as kind of a street level view, a different view could be looking down on something or looking up on something, which will make a lot more sense as we go through this. So here's our horizon line. And there's going to be a vanishing point in terms of where the product is going back to, or where the shape is tapering to, I suppose you could say. So for this one, for a 1 point perspective, which is what we're going to look at now, we're going to have our vanishing point right in the middle. Okay, so we'll call that vanishing point 1. And what's going to happen is you're going to be basically, for this example, we're going to use some cubes and cuboids, as we usually do, to show how 1 point perspective works. So all we're going to do is we're going to draw a very basic square. Let's go one here. Let's go one over here. Let's go one up here. And let's go one over here. And what's going to happen is this is going to vanish back to that point. So from this top point here, we're going to go back to our vanishing point. Same for the bottom point, back to the vanishing point. Exactly the same for these other ones, but let's finish this one off first. Say we want this to be a cube, we can go across there. You're not going to see the back part of the cube because it's hidden. So then we can make this line dark here, this line dark here, and there we have our 1 point perspective cube. Like so. Same with this one at the top. We're going to take this corner because it's above the street, and we're going to take it down to that point there. This point over here. This side one goes to there. From this corner would go over. Obviously you can't see that, and then you can choose your vertical line along the back there and your horizontal line along here. And there we have another cube. You would be looking up at this cube. There is your 1 point perspective cube from there. You could do exactly the same for cylinders, so as things get a little bit more complicated, but you still need to kind of create the cylinder. So we're going to be going to these corners here, like so. You can choose where your back part is, how long this cylinder is going to be. Imagine that this would be, you'd have another point going from this back corner over there. So this one would go across, meet that point and down. And then you can put your cylinder on here. So I'm not going to explain how to do that properly, but you'd have circle on there, circle on here, connect the two together towards the vanishing point. And there you've got a cylinder in the top point. Exactly the same down here. So hopefully you get the idea now. We're going to go from corner to vanishing point, corner to vanishing point, corner to vanishing point, and this corner to the vanishing point as well. From there, you're then going to find your verticals. So let's say we want this one here, horizontal, this one here. We can't see the back one, but we're going to draw it in just to help us with our construction. Add your cylinder on like so, or your ellipse, sorry. Another ellipse on the back here. Connect the two together. And then you're going to have a cylinder that is in perspective. So the key thing to understand here is you have got your horizon line, you've got a single vanishing point, you have got some vertical lines. So this one's vertical, this one's vertical. These are all vertical. You can see the vertical on here, on here, on here, at the back there. And then obviously you have got lines that go in a certain direction. So these lines go into this vanishing point, like so. These lines go into this vanishing point. You could say the left direction going to this vanishing point, exactly the same. to here as well. And all of these are going to a corner on our initial face. Okay, you've obviously also, for 1 point perspective, got your horizontal lines here, 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 and here. So our orange and our yellow lines are perpendicular to each other, but the green and the blue lines follow back to this vanishing point that you can see just there. That is the key of 1 point perspective, or the key parts to understand. So looking at 2 point perspective, exactly the same concept, except you have got 2 vanishing points. So we've still got our horizon line, call the horizon line just there, but now we would have a vanishing point 1 over here, draw an X, and vanishing point 2 over here, and we can draw an X. And you're going to have exactly the same. You can have things above the horizon line, below the horizon line, on the horizon line. So let's do 3 different cubes. It's quite common. So we're going to start with our upright. And from this upright, we're going to go back from the top and the bottom of the line to that vanishing point over there. Something like so. Nice and light lines. This side, we're going to go back to this vanishing point. So it looks like this. So from 1 point, or 1 line, from the top and the bottom, we've gone back each side. We can now decide the shape of our cuboid. So let's have it slightly longer on this right side and slightly shorter on this left-hand side. And again, from the top and the bottom, they've gone back to the vanishing points because they're on those lines. But we also, because we're looking down from the top view, we need to go from here back to our point over there, and from this line back to our point over there. Okay, and this is what can be a little bit confusing for people, where they go. Okay, and then we've got the start of our cuboid here. Hopefully you can see how that works. So it's tapering back towards the vanishing points. You can have one on the street view line. So from the bottom point, we're going to this vanishing point over there, top one to this vanishing point, again the opposite side. Choose our line, so how big we want it to be. So say it needs to be a little bit in that direction, and then we can't see the top or the bottom face because of how the vanishing points are. So we're going to just put those 2 together, and then we have our 2 point perspective from a street view. Okay, so this is known as a bird's eye view. Oops. Because you're looking down on it. This is known as a street view because you're at the same level as it. And then we're going to choose a worm's eye view here. So we're going to get a single line like so. Hope you understand by now. From the bottom, we're going to go to this vanishing point. From the top to this vanishing point. Same on this side. From this vanishing point to here. And from this vanishing point to the top of our line. So we've got a vertical, vanishing points are sorted. We now need to get our vertical line for this one, which is going vertical here and across there. And then because we can see the bottom part of the cube, so we're looking up at it, from this point, we're going to go to this vanishing point over here, and from this one to this vanishing point. And then we can draw over our cuboid, and we are now looking at it from underside, or from the underside, okay, and this is known as a worm's eye view. So in terms of our lines, we've got vertical lines here, our orange lines. They're always going to be parallel to each other and perfectly vertical. We have got a line that goes across to our vanishing point 2. So these green lines going across to the right goes to vanishing point 2 over there. I can kind of draw a dotted line out to show you. Same on this top one here. Oh, sorry, the middle one, except it's only got those ones there. This one, from there, down, there, down, and from here, down. And then going in the opposite direction to vanishing point 1, we have got our blue lines. So this one here goes along to that vanishing point, here to that vanishing point, here to that vanishing point. Same with this one and this one. And over to here. So you can imagine this is like train tracks. So train tracks, even though if you have an image, they look like they're going to taper and eventually touch, they would technically never touch. It's just how the perspective and the eye works. So things that are closer to you look larger, things that are further away look a little bit smaller. Okay, so that is how the perspective works. So that is our 2-point perspective as well. Okay, so we've got 1 point and 2 points. You can kind of start to see the trend. 1 point has a single vanishing point on the horizon line. 2 point has 2 vanishing points on the horizon line. Have a go at sketching some different shapes, different size cubes and cuboids for this, and we will have a look at 3 point and fisheye in the next video.